Welcome to another episode of Mastermind Bites. Hi, my name is Fong. I'm an entrepreneur, business strategist, real estate investor, speaker, and also a best-selling author. And every single day, I have the opportunity to help others unlock the potentials and guide them to succeed. Over the years, I've had the privilege and the honor to be in presence and also to be able to meet some of the most amazing people in the world, some of the masters of their skills, some of the masters of their own right, and I've got to actually learn from a lot of their stories and their lessons as well. And I just wanted to create this show so that I could share back some of those lessons, share back some of those stories so that we can all apply them to our daily lives and to our businesses, because these are all great masters to learn from. Now, I'm very, very happy to be able to say that today's episode is on Stan Lee. Stan the Man Lee, the face of Marvel. If it wasn't for him, the whole comic book genre would not be what it is today. The guy was an absolute visionary. The thing is, if you think about Apple, you think about Steve Jobs, you think about Amazon, you think about Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk. Those are all visionaries. But when you think about publishing, storytelling, and comic books and entertainment, Stan Lee should be right up there as one of the greatest visionaries. He was an absolutely very, very hard worker. He always had this saying by saying, if he's not working, it feels like he's wasting time. And sure enough, he's worked almost every single day, all the way up till the day he died at the age of 95. He worked so hard that right before he was about to pass away, he actually did a whole bunch of more cameos for the Marvel movies so that they can still finish those movies and have him in those movies after he actually was long gone. So he was an absolutely hard worker, something that everybody should implement into their daily lives, being a hard worker to succeed in whatever they are doing. As I said, he was doing a lot of different things. He was involved with either podcasting, or he had cartoons. He had a whole bunch of he had a YouTube channel. He was involved with so many things, and he wanted to reach out to his audience more and expand his reach to the point where he had a whole campaign working with the NHL on creating different mascots and images for their teams, which was a whole new big campaign that nobody else did at the time. So he was always thinking of different ways to reach out to audiences and reach out to different people so that he could get a greater reach. Now, the thing is, he was also a great storyteller. He loves telling stories. He has this amazing way of telling stories that people are interested in, people that they can relate to, and all that great stuff. So he was an absolutely amazing person when it comes to sharing stories and reaching his audiences. And one of the ways he was able to reach out and understand what his audiences actually wanted was the fact that back in the day, when there's a lot of people who mail in questions or sent in different comments and whatnot, he will always have time for his audience members. He will always have time to write back and comment back and make his fan base, his followers, felt that he was one of them, felt that he was listening to them, felt that he actually cared and was thankful for their following and for their comments. Now, the guy was 95 years old when he passed away, and when he did pass away, there was so many people that posted photos of them with Stan Lee. There was so many photos, and the thing is, that's who he was. He was so willing to give back that every time that somebody asked him for a photo, he would say yes, and that's why there were so many photos out online showing that he was with so many different people. So he always gave back. He was always very close to his fan base. He was always very close to listening to the comments and being a part of something, being a part of the cameos. I mean, this is a person that lots of people thought that he only showed up at these in these movies as a cameo appearance, and he kind of became famous because of all these cameos. Most people didn't actually know he was Stan Lee. Some people didn't even know he was the creator of Spiderman or the creator of some of the most famous characters that we all know and love today. So the thing is, he was absolutely a person who cared for the industry. He cared for his fan base. Now, the thing is, he was a great, great storyteller, as I said before. And something that a lesson that I really learned from him was that he always wrote for himself. He always created for himself. He always asked the question, would he enjoy what he's looking at or what he's creating? If he doesn't enjoy it, then he's not going to do it. Which is why when people say, what should they write about? What should they create? He would tell them, don't worry about the people that you're writing for. Don't worry and think about what other people will like. Create something that you would actually enjoy. Create something that when you walk across it and you go, hey, I want to pick this up, then create that. Because you really can't control what other people like. You really can't control what people are looking for. So create something that you absolutely enjoy. Now, he brought this onto his daily life and stuff that he does in public as well. In fact, he took it onto an award ceremony where he was being acknowledged at a university. The university actually gave him a few minutes to share a story or share a speech. So he sat down and wrote this 25-page speech, and he all of a sudden stopped and backed up and says, wait a minute, would I actually want to listen to this speech? And then he goes, probably not. So he scrapped that whole speech and decided to tell a story that he himself really enjoyed. And that was the story of how he created Spider-Man. And sure enough, the audience loved it. And as he was telling the story, he was able to share another life lesson. And the story goes like this. So he was sitting at home and he was thinking, man, I need to create something. And then he saw this fly flying around and stick to the wall. And he goes, wouldn't it be interesting to have a superhero who could actually climb walls? And he goes, that's going to be my first idea. And he goes, I could call it Flyman or Mosquito Man. No, I know, Spider-Man. It has this neat little ring to it. So he goes, okay, got that first part. We got a superhero, Spider-Man is his name, and it's going to be able to climb on walls. Then he goes, you know what? I want to broaden my audience. So he decided to have a teenager as the main character, as Spider-Man. Now, back then, most of these comic books was geared towards kids that were pre-teens. So he wanted to broaden his audience and goes, we're going to have a teenager as the main character. Then he goes, I know, in order for the teenagers to be more relatable to this character, let's make this character have normal teenager problems. There's our idea. So he took that idea and went to his editor and he goes, here's my idea. Spider-Man, it's going to be a teenager who has teenager problems. The editor then goes, wait a minute. First of all, nobody loves spiders. So Spider-Man, that's not going to work. We need to change the name. Second of all, a teenager? Teenagers can only be sidekicks. So no, that's not going to work either. We need to change that up. And the third thing, problems? What are you talking about? Have you not understand the whole concept of superheroes? They should not have any problems. So we have to change. You know what? In fact, let's just completely scrap the idea. So that was it. So he didn't have the go-ahead to produce Spider-Man. But then he couldn't let that whole idea go. He really, really loved that idea. So finally, one day he goes, you know what? I need to get this out of my system. I have to produce Spider-Man somehow. Now, during that period of time, there was a comic book series called Amazing Fantasy that was not doing very well. It was about to get canceled anyways at Marvel. So then he goes, you know what? I'll throw in Spider-Man as the very last issue of that series. Nobody's going to care. It's the last issue. Let's just put it in there and send it out. So that's how Spider-Man got his first appearance in the last episode of Amazing Fantasy. He sent it out and he didn't think about it. He got out of his system. He got to relax. 2-3 weeks later, his editor comes in. Hey, do you remember that character Spider-Man that we all loved and enjoyed? We need to do a whole series of this. So that basically means so many people love that idea because he loved that idea. So if you have something that you truly, really believe in and you love the idea, don't let any idiot tell you otherwise. Make it happen, produce it, send it out there, launch it. At the worst case, you'll be proud of doing something that you absolutely had a true belief in. And that's what he did. And that's what he did for all the other stuff that he did. Now, the third thing that I really noticed about Stan Lee was the word Excelsior. He says that all the time. After every press conference, after every Photoshop shoot, after every interview, you hear him say Excelsior. And people associate him with that word all the time now too. The thing is, it was after a long period of time that I actually found out what Excelsior meant. And after I found out what it meant, it absolutely gave it a lot more power to that word. And it means it's an old word that means upward and onward to greater glory. Wow, what a powerful end statement to all his podcasts, to all his interviews by saying Excelsior. So that is something that I took to heart, and I go, I need to think of something that's powerful too. Hence, I have my little tagline. But Stan Lee, with the word Excelsior, he made it his brand. People expect him to say it. And when people say it, they think of Stan Lee. So that was absolutely amazing that he came up with that word and uses that word all the time. As I said, Stan Lee is a visionary. He is well beyond everybody else during that time of comic books and creations and storytelling. Another few examples of how great he was in the storytelling realm was he was the first person, like I said, to bring in teenagers as his main character. The main purpose of that, he wanted to expand his clientele. He wanted to expand his readers. He wanted to bring in more serious readers. Now, in order to bring in more serious readers, he had to put in some real life problems, which back then most comic books didn't have. He also introduced real life problems like drug problems or diversity problems and certain things like dating problems like Peter Parker had with Mary Jane. So a lot of that stuff brought in the older audience. He was, like I said, brought in diversity. He was the very first person to create a main superhero, which was African American with Black Panther. He brought in other like races and also talked about racism and also talked about how judgment is bad and how the X-Men were able to apply themselves into the daily lives and what kind of problems they felt. So if you really look into some of his most famous creations, like Thor, Spiderman, X-Men, and Captain America, all those creations have an underlying message that we can all learn from. We should no longer look at comic books like it's for fun or comic books like it's just for kids. It can really work for adults because there's lots of great life lessons in these stories. It's basically just storytelling. If you look into X-Men, it teaches you not to judge people, or it teaches you not to worry about what other people say or what people judge you for. Worry and focus on the people that admire you for your skill set and your uniqueness. When you look at Captain America, it's never give up. Have great character, have that work ethic to keep on pushing and be the best that you can be. When it comes to Spider-Man, we all understand and have heard of with great power comes great responsibility. And then with Thor, you don't always deserve everything that you believe you deserve. You have to earn it. All those are great life lessons that he showcased in these characters, human life problems. So the thing is, we need to look at comic books from a different mindset. And Stan Lee was the very first person to come up with that concept, to bring in the older audience, to bring in the more serious reader when it comes to comic books. And with today, we see all these great movies coming out. We see all the whole comic book industry explode with the whole Marvel universe and all that kind of stuff. And it's because of great storytelling that really started off from Stan Lee. So those are some of the lessons I've gotten from listening to Stan Lee, meeting Stan Lee, and just listening to what he was able to do and watch what he was able to do with the whole comic book genre. So really, when you look at your own business, how do you apply these lessons to your own business? How do you create something that is able to attract a larger audience? How do you reach out to a larger audience? How are you able to attract that larger audience with the stuff that you talk about? When you create something, only create for yourself and then the rest will come. Don't let people tell you you can't do it or that it's not going to work. If you truly believe in something, keep on working at it. And then finally, what is that tagline that you have that can be remembered by all, just like the word Excelsior for Stan Lee? So I really enjoyed doing this episode. I really enjoyed looking into what Stan Lee has done for the industry and for the world and everything that he was able to accomplish. He was a great master storyteller. He was a great master when it comes to being a visionary. So until next time, today is the day to unlock your potential. I'll see you next time.